Reality is like a spinning record. Pick any point on the outer edge of pretty much any record you like, and then pick a point on the inner label. Set it on the turntable, set it to spinning, and you'll notice something very weird happen between those 2 points. Despite having the same revolutions per minute, and you can measure this from anywhere on the disc, the point at the label is traveling far less subjective distance than the point on the outer rim. The idea that these are 2 separate places is completely inaccurate. Carl Jung, Rudolf Steiner, ancient alchemists, some of the lost gospels, dude, it's everywhere. Anywhere you can look, you'll start finding people pointing towards this idea, and I've seen it work firsthand. Brother, the gains off of this alone in all esoteric spheres, like just my life at large, beautiful. So, come on, sit yourself down. I'm going to tell you about it. I pulled that idea out of an old Calvin and Hobbes comic where Calvin's dad tells him about how despite moving at 2 different speeds, the 2 points are making the same revolutions per minute. It's pretty obvious what I meant by that, of course. The outer rim point, that's going to represent our material reality. It's in constant motion. And the inner rim, that's going to represent our spiritual reality. And that's still in constant motion. And if you really need to ascribe character to the spindle hole in the middle, that's no motion. Or very, very little motion to the point that we can't perceive it. So that represents full consciousness, the observer, the universe, God, whatever offends you the most. And before anyone says it, yes, the record has to be spinning and interacting with the needle because otherwise we don't get any music. So don't be that guy. Work with me on this. Now, where do you come into this? Because the ego and consciousness as we understand it, it doesn't work like either of these 2 places. It's not material reality. That would be something like the rocks and the dirt, and maybe the plants. It just exists. It can't think, it can't access higher reality. But then again, it's not the completely spiritual. That's your subconscious mind. That would be a more total view of all available information. So where the hell does the mind sit? It's gotta be somewhere in between, except it also bridges the 2 spheres. And that may be the incorrect term, because the mind itself appears to play in this dynamic as the record itself. Both of these points are part of you, right? You're the one imparting the rotational motion from the center, scratching against the needle, and producing sound. So if you want a reason why we exist, we're basically here to play some tunes. So if we play it that way, pun intended, the mind itself is the intermediary between these higher and lower spaces. We are the record, not either edge of it. And if we identify ourselves with either edge of this record, or even any part of it that, if we occlude some part from the way we understand ourselves, we lose the full picture. Duality seems to be everywhere in nature, except what I've really seen in ancient alchemical work is that they were trying to figure out a way to take dual opposites and mush them together. Rudolf Steiner matched that with his conception of Ahriman and Lucifer, where he was suggesting that there is a burning spirit force. That sounds really fruity. Down below there's the Ahrimanic, where that's... My God, there's a gunfight outside. Oh well. Then down below there's the Ahrimanic. That's the reductive impulse. So Luciferic would be the upward, Ahrimanic the downward. As above, so below. And now you kind of get the picture, because that saying doesn't mean anything if you just say as above. We can pull an enormous amount of data out of this record analogy, because the further in that we go, we get more leverage. Record players, they don't spin from the rim, and no mechanical wheel does this either. They all spin from the center, a center axle. If we get really close to that center point, it would look like going higher and higher into the spirit world, right? We're pulling down more data about reality from seemingly nowhere, with a final point dead center that would be the totality of the disc. I've seen this reflected in, if you've ever seen the Hermetic Seven Heavens, the layers of Dante's Inferno, I don't know, like those. My mind is going pizza and I can't make it shut up. Damn you. So, really, we're not living in one world or another. We're experiencing all of the same world. And at the outer edge of the record, we're ascribing a lot of meaning to it. And then as we go further upwards, the more that we can ascribe meaning to, the more data of the record we can find. And it seems like the data further up, it's more compressed. So there wouldn't be one spirit world. Like the ideas that we live in as humans would look like a spirit world to, say, a dog. If you've ever pulled a really bad all-nighter and like been unable to recognize yourself in a mirror, you know exactly what I'm talking about. That's where we would reach a lower level or further out on the record that is us, where we can no longer access the closer data that tells us, oh yes, this is a reflection of you. We'd be like a zoo animal looking in a mirror where they start like jumping around trying to fight themselves. Not fun. This is what I see people kind of doing when they subject themselves to one narrative or another. You're not like when you play a record, you have to spin smoothly from one edge to the other, and that's how you play the full album. You don't jump around from one point to the next and then get upset because the needle is moving to a point where you didn't originally put it. That's the subconscious mind seems to be able to do this by default. Like understand the whole record all at once and listen to the full album instead of just two songs off of it. If you've ever seen someone who's very in tune with their subconscious, like there's this YouTuber Eleni, I don't know, who popped up in my feed today, and when she looks at signs, and I can just tell from one video, it's like she's reading a book. She's just seeing reality, and certain signs will just say like, oh, this is happening, or that's happening. And that's symbolic perception. It's very cool to see someone do that, like, so actively. And maybe she'd describe it in different terms, but it means that something is happening inside of her subconscious and inside of the deeper collective unconscious. Galahad Eridanus, he's another great example. That guy takes symbolic cognition to levels I don't think it's ever been to before. And he reads all information about his inner world from the outer, and vice versa. He's stated before, like, it's all one thing to him. He doesn't separate it. Matter of fact, he called out what I see in Carl Jung. Like, he called out that because Jung's philosophy didn't demand that you look at the world through material or spiritual and just let you call it psychology, which is the binding center that we use, it doesn't demand that you take either view, and it gives you a very nice, clean middle ground from which to arbitrate everything. I've seen this myself while exploring my deep subconscious. Like, you can go incredibly far towards the subjective center of the record. Like, at one point, I got so far into the collective unconscious that it started, like, sending up mythic symbols in my life, and it all perfectly mapped to mystic traditions that I'd never even heard of before. Long story short, kids, like, don't break into the collective unconscious. That trick, like the hundredfold gains that I'm talking about here, it seems to be getting in very close communication with your subconscious. Because we only have access to a sliver of the data that the subconscious does, our conscious biases can hide information in there, and it can even like turn it against us because it knows something that we don't, and we're trying to use our cognition when we're not playing with a full deck of cards. That's why the saying is so beautiful to me. You're not playing with a full deck because, well, no one is. Our conscious biases, they will hide aspects of what's going on down there. Maybe like it's past traumas or the language you speak, or it's like, I don't know, some way that you think, and it will occlude the information in there that you actually need and hide it from you. It can feel like you're fighting your subconscious on stuff. Things will start going wrong, stuff will break. So the ability to understand all aspects of it and of yourself, integrate it and pull data up from it is, I'd say by definition, like the best skill you could have. would be something like picking up a guitar and just shredding, except you've never touched a guitar before in your life. It is awesome. Let me tell you, like, the experiences I've had with that, like, level of cognition, it's just beautiful. If you're, like, really stuck with your subconscious and it always feels like you're kind of fighting an uphill battle with it and you don't know why you're stuck, there's a link in the description to work with me, and we go through and just solve those problems for you, get you back into communication. Frankly, it's what I needed when I started all this. When I say that Carl Jung talked about this, I mean that he theorized that there was a bridge called the psychoid, or sometimes the anima, that acts as an intermediary between the subconscious and the conscious mind. And if you can increase the diameter, let's say, of that sphere, you can pull down more and more relevant information. That's what I'm talking about here. And the best way I've found to do it is to just not view it as two different places, but rather two parts of the same whole and two measured locations, because our measurement is always subjective. Like, there is no such thing as a kilometer. Thank fuck. Maybe the British will stop talking about it now. That's the big pattern that really, like, broke me out of my doom cycle of not getting anywhere, and it's what Jung, Steiner, alchemists, some of the lost Gnostic Gospels, Eleni the Cartuber, Galahad Eridanus, they're all talking about the same thing, and that's to stop viewing it as sides of a coin and start just viewing it as a coin. It's all just one coin, and you need to act like it. So the coin metaphor kind of falls apart, I suppose. So, yeah, like, summary thesis, dualism is dumb, it's for babies. I will continue to get kicked out of the Wendy's for trying to fight the cashiers over this. Look, buddy.
Look, buddy, what the global elites don't want you to know is that the spirit realms, they're free. You can take them. I have over 52 spirit realms in my basement.